Welcome to Marketing is Broken, the weekly series where we show you what's wrong with marketing and how to fix it. Let's go to the news! A startling find for you today. 3 in 4 Americans want to be treated like a human being. Who'd have thought? In a new study by Selligent, 77% of consumers said that they expect companies to treat them like an individual, not as a member of some segment like millennials or suburban mothers. This comes in an area where GDPR and growing privacy concerns have consumers increasingly leery about providing information about themselves. Selligent went on to report that only 1 in 5 consumers are willing to provide data to brands up front in order to improve their experience. In fact, if a brand's request is too much for consumers, nearly 30% of them say they'd be willing to abandon the brand altogether. So if asking for data can be a turnoff, but consumers expect you to know them deeply already, well, what do? That brings us to tonight's topic, personas. Personas are a tool for helping software developers, product designers, and marketing professionals build what customers want without having to ask them all the time. Personas range wildly in depth, style, and appearance, but often can look like a bit of a baseball card or maybe a placemat. In this version, a playful name or photo of a person best thought to represent a customer segment or personality is placed alongside their key attributes, wants, and needs. Some personas are more minimalist and may include just a name and defining quote. And finally, there's seldomly used, but my favorite pointillism personas, which use itty-bitty little dots. While personas are universally put into place to get closer to the customer and deliver better brand experiences, they can often end up having the entirely opposite effect. Take, for example, this thought from Mercy Victoria Grace, the former director of product at Slack. She says, "I can't think of a more common offender than personas in creating a shield between companies and their customers. Personas are facsimiles of your real customers, ones that fit in tiny psychographic boxes. Each step that you take away from the harsh, messy reality of your customer is dangerous." Powerful words, and she isn't alone in the industry by any means. According to Nielsen Norman Group's Kim Flaherty, personas can be counterproductive in a few ways. 1, they're not used. Many companies aspire to use them, but they get tripped up and never roll them out. You gotta use personas if they're gonna work. 2, they lack leadership buy-in. Company executives will choose revenue over things that build brand when given the choice, so why make them choose? Personas that don't help drive real business value never gain or eventually end up losing executive support. 3, personas fail when they're imposed on people. They can be kind of like religions where each department of the company believes that they are the CEO's chosen people and the only ones that will ever truly understand small business barb. Creating personas should be collaborative and cross-departmental and a process that takes input from all areas of the company versus being handed down from one creative or branding department from on high. The biggest reason why personas fail, they're not based in reality. So all too often, personas are only based on assumptions instead of actual input from customers. And when this happens, you're doomed to fail. So how do you fix personas? Easy. You get your customers involved. Start by finding real people and ask them to take surveys or participate in interviews or focus groups. Consumers want to be in control of their personal information, but are often willing to share it if they understand how it will benefit, or frankly, if you pay them. If you're just starting out, you might only be able to interview a handful of potential or new customers and write down what you find. If you already have some customers, invite them through an email to take a survey to help improve your product or service. Or if you really want to get awesome, take your best Google or Facebook audience that you think most directly maps to your entire potential market for your product or service, and then recruit several hundred people using advertising to participate in a survey that you host on your website. Now, this is super nerdy, but I'd be more than happy to show you how to do it. Just reach out to @BrandishInsight in a tweet using the hashtag audience-based personas. So you found some people that are willing to take your survey. What do you ask them in order to create these useful personas? In his Think with Google blog post, Schema Strategy founder Santiago Castillo suggests a textbook set of questions and process for building personas with surveys. First, ask them all sorts of questions. Ask them about their job, their team, their company. Ask them about their personalities, professional ambitions, and how will they get a raise, or what will they have to do to get fired. Ask them about their typical day at work and what occupies their time and minds. And lastly, ask them how products or services in your category could help make their lives better and what problems brands like you might be able to help them solve. Now, after you've collected your responses, Analyze the data and look for patterns. Consumers who answer questions similarly will stand out in clusters and can be assigned to their respective persona type. There isn't a set limit to how many personas you can create, and larger organizations can often have a handful of personas and countless divisions. You could have hundreds of personas, and we don't want to go there. But that said, 1 to 5 personas are typically the most useful for teams of a given product or brand. You want to have 1 or 2 that represent your perfect persona, and then even having 1 or 2 that represent customers that you may not want to attract to your brand for fear of diluting it. Now, once you have your data and decided on how many personas you have, then it's actually time to create these deliverables, the persona deliverable. Take a designer and have them Google the many different types of baseball card-like designs out there and create a layout that best suits your company, your brand, and the details that will support your personas. In your personas, you'll want to include insights from the customer's journey, which are all the major points where your brand could interact with each persona. Really think and empathize with their motivations and fears at each stage. Include these details in your persona document and how your brand will help them too. Lastly, create a formal communications plan to roll out personas. Can't stress that enough. Make sure you involve cross-functional team members to get the whole company on board, and then ask your leadership to help lead the rollout and communicate the importance of personas company-wide. Now, if your personas are successful, you'll be able to create products, services, content, and advertising that helps people solve their problems at each step of the journey in a way that matters to them on a real and meaningful level. Personas can help companies get there, but it does take effort. If you succeed, you'll move from annoying consumers by trying to personalize your marketing efforts to making your marketing more personable and growing your brand. This is how marketers can make consumers feel like people, and coincidentally, how you can build a market-leading brand. And that's how you can fix marketing. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching Marketing is Broken, brought to you by Brandish Insights, the world's first brand analytics platform. We're like Google Analytics for brands. Catch this weekly show by subscribing to our YouTube channel or by visiting brandishinsights.com to learn more.